Alright, so the Premier League fixtures have been announced and it is exciting. Alright, what's happening everyone? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. How's everybody doing? Good? Excited for the new season? Well, you should be. Today we're going to be looking at my predictions for the first round of Premier League fixtures. Indeed, they've been released just this morning, so I've had a little ganders for each fixture and I'm going to give my thoughts on each game and my prediction on how I think it's going to go. And hopefully, I get some right. Right, so number 1, Liverpool versus Norwich. Now, we have to discuss how Liverpool are indeed a powerhouse now, and they'll be riding an incredible high after winning the Champions League. So, Norwich are a promoted side. Although they did win the championship, obviously at home, Liverpool are huge favourites. And a Norwich win, or indeed getting any result, would be a huge upset. Saying that, I am really interested to see how Foxmen does in the Premier League this season. They were convincing champions of the championship last season, and also I really am interested in seeing how Teemu Pukki does in the Premier League, if he'll bang a lot of goals. Because often you see players either scoring a lot of goals or being the player of the championship coming up into the Premier League and not delivering. So it'll be really interesting to keep an eye on him and see if he starts banging goals or not. Norwich's only hope of getting a result here is hoping that Liverpool have a bit of a Champions League hangover and Norwich is still riding the high of winning the championship. But that's kind of clutching at straws and I'm not sure that's going to happen. Although I can see Norwich bagging their first Premier League goal in a long time, I still think this is going to be a convincing Liverpool win, and I'm going to go for 3-1 to Liverpool. Next up, West Ham are at home to champions Manchester City. Again, on the surface of it, even though they're away, Manchester City are overwhelming favourites to win this game. West Ham, however, did find some form in the latter part of last season and they have looked really good at times. It did take a while, but Pellegrini managed to finally utilise some of their good players, and Felipe Anderson and Arnautovic, provided they're both still there, they can combine well. They might be able to create some chances, and if the home crowd are rallying behind them, maybe they could have some spells of good football, but I can see Manchester City rolling West Ham here. West Ham can hope Manchester City's concentration levels have dropped, it being a new season and maybe them having to travel down to London, but this is a Pep Guardiola team and you can't see him allowing his players' concentration to drop. So sadly for West Ham, my prediction is Manchester City come out swinging next season and win comfortably 4-0. Next up, we have Bournemouth at home to Sheffield United. This is an interesting one for a few reasons. I mean, Bournemouth have sort of staked their place as a Premier League side for the last few seasons, and you know, Sheffield United have been out of the Premier League for a while, so it's a difficult one to call. It should sound like Cherries are overwhelming favourites maybe, or certainly comfortable favourites, but if you look at Sheffield United, they conceded the least goals out of the top 6 in the Championship last season, and they were an automatically promoted team, so they are obviously in a good run of form, but the fact is they're going away to Bournemouth. Even though their defence is good, the Cherries are going to play attacking football, you'd imagine. I reckon it'll be tighter than Eddie Howe's men would like, but I am going to go for a 2-1 win to Bournemouth in this game. Right, Burnley at home to Southampton. Another interesting one. Southampton's new coach, Ralph Hasenhüttl, brings his boys from the coast up to the stubborn gates of Turf Moor in Burnley. The stubborn gates of Turf Moor. That sounds incredibly Lord of the Rings-like. I like it. So last year was an interesting season for Burnley. They started really badly due to Europa League football and qualifications and stuff, and they looked like they might even get relegated at one point. But Sean Dyche brought back well, you could say he reverted to type and got his team more defensively resolute again, and they picked up a bit of form towards the end of last season. Well, they played really well in parts actually. So you would imagine Burnley will remain defensively resolute, and they are at home. But personally, I wouldn't make Burnley favourites here. Even though they're both sort of similar tier sides in the Premier League at the moment, if you look at the sort of trajectory of where they are, Burnley, yeah, Dyche has got Burnley more defensive again, and they're more playing more compact and as a unit, but I really am impressed with Hasenhüttl and how he's developed that Southampton side and how they're playing a bit more progressive football and utilising those good attacking players in that side. So you know what? I am going to go for a 2-1 Southampton win for this fixture. Crystal Palace versus Everton. Another kind of interesting one. Now, if Palace keep both Zaha and Wan-Bissaka this summer, it could be a bit more of an interesting tie, seeing as that they are at home, and Palace at home can be a difficult fixture, but they could lose one or both of Zaha and Wan-Bissaka, which would make them massively underdogs. If they kept both those players and even strengthened this transfer window, they'd probably have a better chance of beating Everton. But I'm not sure all that's going to happen, and really if you look at Everton and what Marco Silva's been doing, they're looking incredibly strong. In the last few years in the Premier League, it's been difficult to see what Marco Silva's teams look like after an extended period of time, because if you look at Hull and Watford, he's kind of jumped ship when he's either had his head turned or the form's dipped of both teams. But with Everton, it looks like he's reached past that threshold and the team actually looks really good now, and that Everton are utilising the quality in their squad really well. And with that, I think they're going to continue their good form from last season, flex their muscles this year in the Premier League, certainly at the beginning, and I think Everton are going to win 3-1. Leicester versus Wolves. Alright, for me this is a proper fire-rubber in terms of an exciting matchup. Leicester recently under Brendan Rodgers looked like a really devastating proposition, and he looks like he's getting the most out of that squad, and if they can secure the full-time contract of Yuri Tielemans, they're looking like a real prospect, maybe even a side that could be challenging for top 6. And if they've got the money, if they strengthen, then yeah, I mean, Leicester could be absolutely awesome. As for Wolves, Wolves were everybody's favourite story last season, and they are very good against better opposition, the opposition that likes to play with the ball and has a lot of quality, I guess. That often suits Wolves very much. So Leicester would be the better side in this matchup, probably just, and they will try and play with possession with the ball, which would probably suit Wolves, but if you look at it, both sides are really good counter-attacking football sides, so this game could be rather up and down, and quite an exciting one probably. I think this could be an incredibly exciting game, you know. I'm going to go for my first draw in these predictions, and I'm going to go for a 2-2. Watford versus Brighton. Off the bat, you'd probably say Watford are favourites for this, especially seeing as they're at home, but you know, Brighton are a good side. They've shown flashes of bits throughout last season. I mean, they've stayed in the Premier League the last few years. Arguably, they'd have Chris Hughton to thank for that, who they've just sacked, because they want to go for a more progressive, expansive style of football. It's the first game of the season for them, and if they're going for a different direction, that might be very difficult. Whereas Watford had a great season last season, apart from the horrific massacre at Wembley in the final. But despite that, they did very well to get to the final, and Javi Gracia has done a great job at Watford, and he's getting the best out of them. So yeah, Watford are big favourites here. I don't think they'll have to go nuts to win, so I'm going for a comfortable 2-0 win to Watford. Spurs versus Aston Villa. Championship playoff winners Aston Villa. They're going to visit the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to play Spurs. Again, off the bat, Tottenham are huge favourites, being the much better team and being at home. I guess the one main thing going for Aston Villa is the feel-good factor around the club. They went on an amazing run towards the end of last season under Dean Smith, and they will be hoping that they can continue to ride that high to get some form of result away against Spurs. Saying that, their main goal scorer, Tammy Abraham, looks like he's going back to Chelsea, which could cause problematic for Villa. But Grealish has got a lot of quality and belongs in the Premier League, and he will be chomping to demonstrate his ability and how he belongs at that level. Despite all that, Tottenham have the quality, and depending on whether they get any exits this summer, like there were rumours of Eriksen wanting to leave, but if Eriksen stays and God forbid Spurs actually buy a player or two, regardless, they're overwhelming favourites. Villa might get a goal, but I'm going to go for a Tottenham win at 3-1. Newcastle versus Arsenal. Now, when it comes to Newcastle, there's a lot of uncertainty. Rafa Benitez is at the end of his contract, and at time of recording, he's yet to re-sign, so no one knows what's going on there. And there's also this talk of new investment coming into Newcastle. Whether it will or won't happen, I don't know. So it's very difficult to make a prediction, but you know, if Rafa stays and he gets £200 million spending money, you know, that could be a huge factor in this prediction. When it comes to Arsenal, obviously they're coming off a huge defeat to Chelsea in the Europa League final, and they just have been crap in the league towards the end of last season, so you really don't know what Arsenal's going to turn up. But let's say provided Newcastle keep Rafa, maybe buy a player, we don't talk about the sort of buyout, and Arsenal come back after a summer period of reflection. I mean, they've still got the firepower up front. I'm going to go just for an Arsenal win, but an entertaining game and a squeaky bum time one for the Gunners. I'm going to say 3-2 to Arsenal. And finally, arguably, or probably not arguably, the most exciting fixture of the game week 1, and that is Manchester United versus Chelsea. That's right, Solskjaer's misfiring Manchester United host a hazardless Chelsea Football Club. If everything sort of continued and remained from last season, Chelsea would be huge favourites here in terms of Man United's poor form and in terms of Chelsea, say, theoretically still having Hazard and Sarri. But the truth is, Hazard is gone, and it does look like Maurizio Sarri is gone too. Again, at time of recording, it's not official, but it looks like he's off to Juventus. So much uncertainty around Chelsea Football Club, and with the transfer ban, they can't buy a player to replace Hazard's offensive output. Even though they've got Pulisic arriving, and you'd imagine Tammy Abraham would deputise behind Giroud and maybe a few other lone players back, so it's not all doom and gloom. But Manchester United, apparently a couple of high-profile players want out, like Pogba and Lukaku, although interestingly, it does look like Pogba's agent Mino Raiola is banned from doing transfers, so I don't know if that really means Pogba's locked down, but I think Pogba will probably stay. And this makes for a really interesting game. As it stands, Manchester United's defence is still really poor, and Chelsea's is better. And not only that, it does look like they've got Kurt Zouma coming back, who's had an excellent season at Everton. I think it will be a cagey game. Chelsea will score due to Man United's poor defence, but because Chelsea don't have that much firepower anymore, I think they'll only score once. And I feel like United have got enough firepower to score once, so I'm going to sit on the fence and do another draw. I think this might be 1-1 at Old Trafford. So that's it, guys, my predictions for the first round in the Premier League. How exciting. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Get down in the comments, let me know your predictions, or tell me about certain fixtures where you think I was wrong or you think I was right. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, and you know what? Subscribe to this channel if you are new. You know, hit the bell notification button, all that stuff that helps you keep up with the videos and the content. But guys, yeah, that's it from me. Take it easy and enjoy the football.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me bitch.